Hello and welcome to CNBC TV 18. I'm Malvika Jain. I'm in New York and I have with the Finance Secretary, Mr. Ashok Lavasa. Mr. Lavasa, welcome to CNBC TV 18.
Thank you.
My first question to you is that you are in New York. You're here to meet a whole host of investors. What are the key concerns that they have raised during your interactions with them?
First of all, everyone is very enthusiastic about India. India continues to be a bright spot for all investors. Some of the key concerns which they raised, first of all, with the recent ordinance which was promulgated by the government on NPA resolution, I think this is something which is eagerly being looked forward to. And just as the government of India is taking several measures to resolve the NPA issue, similarly, I think everyone is watching how this is going to play out. The second concern which people have is about the government's fiscal reform path. And third is the process reform and the governance reform which is being undertaken in India.
Sir, about the issue of NPAs, an ordinance has been promulgated, but the point is that what about the underlying cause of the NPAs? Is the government actually addressing the root cause? Because this problem is persisting year after year.
You're very right. If you analyze the NPA problem, then it stems from a number of reasons. One reason is in many cases, the markets did not respond as well as it was thought out in the projections that were made. So because of a global slowdown, several trade-related issues cropped up, and the manufacturing sector did not perform as well as was anticipated. Then there are a host of issues which pertain to the infrastructure sector, where because of some regulatory delays and clearances which were not easily available. So I think the time taken during that period added to the cost of the funds. The third is that many of these projects were over-leveraged and they could not sustain the level of debt which they had incurred. The fourth issue is that risk that was taken by the promoters was perhaps they were not able to handle.
But do you feel confident that now with the promulgation of the ordinance, the change in process of appointment of bank chiefs, there will be an overarching change and now the root of the problem is going to be addressed? Because restructuring of loans is only going to delay what is inevitable.
Well, in fact, that is why government has approached this issue from several sides. One are the policy measures which are required to be taken. So take, for example, the textile sector. Government came out with a package of incentives for the textile sector precisely to deal with the industry-related issues. Same is the case with the steel. We just came out with a new steel policy.
But that only deals with domestic manufacturing and procurement by government departments. But what about, that is not going to improve the health of the industry?
No, it is. It will provide them more business opportunities. And to that extent, the product offtake is likely to improve. But you very clearly see that in the textile sector, in the steel sector, there is a visible improvement. Take the road sector, for example. There, a couple of years back, there were more than 100 stressed cases, and these were what was referred to as stranded assets. So in about 80% of them, government sat down with the promoters, with the bankers, and we found resolution. Wherever clearances were awaited, those were given. And we also came out with a dispensation about the companies, the NHAI and others, making payment where cases were held up in litigation. So if there was an arbitration award in favor of the company or the promoter, government said that 75% of the arbitration award should be paid to the promoters to liquidate their loan liabilities. So that has enabled the road sector to move. As far as the ordinance, etc., is concerned, and many other steps which Reserve Bank of India has taken, I think that is an institutional mechanism by which the bankers will approach the borrowers and try and find a way in which to make that loan viable.
There are people who are saying that this is a way for the government to clean up the balance sheets of the banks. But actually, eventually, unless the real problems are resolved, private investment picks up, there is an overall improvement in the manner in which business is done in India, this problem is not going to get addressed.
No, I think you have to distinguish between the cases that are suffering from the impairment problem and overall business environment. I think these two are different issues, but yes, wherever there are generic issues or procedural issues that needed to be sought out, I think government has taken a number of steps by which, take the case of environment clearance, for example. And many of these cases, especially in the infrastructure sector, they did suffer from that delay which was caused due to environment clearances. But over the last 2 or 3 years, you find that that entire process has become so smooth and technology based that no longer is this a concern for the investors. So similarly, many other measures are being taken by the government where the overall environment of doing business, the procedures involved in doing business, they are becoming simpler.
One of the biggest challenges that are faced by businesses in India is that of infrastructure, basic road connectivity. Bharatmala project is before the Public Investment Board for clearance. By when are you going to discuss it?
See, Bharatmala is one of the flagship projects which the Ministry of Road Transport has conceived, and it builds up on the earlier NHDP 1 and 2 and Golden Quadrilateral projects which has been implemented substantially. So this is a project which involves more than 10,000 kilometers of connectivity. We have the ministry has forwarded the project, and very soon, within the month of May, we are going to have the Project Investment Board meeting to appraise the project. And in addition, government has agreed to devise a faster procedure for appraising these projects. And what we intend to do is that take the entire project, appraise it, go to the cabinet, seek its approval, and then leave the NHAI's board to deal with individual projects.
Wonderful, Mr. Lavasa. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
We were in conversation with Mr. Ashok Lavasa, the Finance Secretary of India. Thank you for watching.